whew, boy, has it been a really, really busy weekend. We don't have 7 this week, we don't have 5, we're going to just go and meet in the middle with 6. These are 6 recent releases that were just dropped this past weekend, which is the 3rd or 4th weekend of September. I don't even know time anymore, that you definitely need to check out. These are the ones that perhaps are a little off the beaten path, though some of them are names that you certainly know. Let's start with one that you might not, and that's Nothgard with their brand new album, The Sinner's Sink. Now, these guys are a epic melodic death metal band that are located out of Germany, and this is their 3rd album. Now, whenever you listen to this disc, you're going to immediately be very much in your comfort zone if you're a melodic death metal fan, considering this reminds you of some of the other contemporaries that have existed in the genre for the past 15 years or so. Whenever I hear some of the opening tracks off of this one, such as from, Lambs to Lions, I immediately get some, Kalma or Children of Bodom feelings that sort of swirl within. It's just something about the speed and the way in which these compositions are crafted that kind of give me those ideas, and it's one that feels very nice. It still has that purity to it. This band has not really been stained by success as of yet, if you know what that really is meant to intend. But I like how throughout this, as it continues, you start to get a couple of other little, like a Gathma Demon type notches that are here and there. This is mellow death that definitely stays pure within that genre, but isn't afraid to explore a little bit. This is a pretty solid disc. It's definitely one for the mellow death fan in you. Songs that I would recommend would be Iron Sights, as well as Last Child Standing. These are some really good tracks off of this disc that I think you'll like, and I think you'll like this album, so check it out. Kansas with the Prelude Implicit. Yeah, you know Kansas. Dust in the Wind, Carry On Wayward Son, that band from the 70s and the 80s that your dad probably really likes. Oh, you probably like them too. They're a pretty good band. Yeah, this is the first album from them in 16 years. They have a bit of a revamped lineup, so what are they going to sound like here in 2016? Are they going to morph a little bit into what prog rock has sort of become? And the answer to that question is, yes, but no. We hear the Kansas sound, the classic sound, within most of the tracks off of this album. The only thing that really is updated is the production value and everything of that variety. This is one that has a cleanliness to it that does sort of resemble other prog rock that contemporaries are putting out, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What makes Kansas so unique is their unique ability to really shift between different emotion and different musical feeling, musical tense, and that's what makes the material such a joy to listen to. With this track such as With This Heart to start this one off, you get right back and launched into the Kansas lore. And it's one where the keys swirling around the guitar work, which swirls in turn around the percussion, which swirls in turn around the vocals. I mean, it's a swirl process. It feels like a whirlwind, like a tornado on the Kansas plain. It's absolutely fantastic, and that's what makes this band really so charming, considering they can go from that sort of softer register and then dial into something that's got a lot more power laced behind it. What I find interesting are a couple of tracks on here, such as The Voyage of 818, which is 8 minutes and 18 seconds in length, almost like they planned this or something like that. Is this something they named after the song was complete? Maybe so. Maybe it's just a bona fide coincidence. Who really knows? But all I will say is that this track, along with a couple of others that peak over the 6-minute mark, and I'm thinking specifically of a song such as Camouflage or a song such as Crowded Isolation, really showcase why Kansas is considered one of the best at using time and using space to their advantage. They use every single moment of these songs in order to really leave a lasting impression and really divvy and dial, between different emotions and different feelings in order to tell a bit of a story within a story, and it's something that works. Not all tracks that tell a story need to be 16 minutes in length, and The Voyage of 818 really proves that. Home on the Range, though, is track number 11, and you may remember the song from your youth, from Looney Tunes cartoons, or a lot of other different cartoons of that distinction. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play. You might remember that, but Kansas has done their own version of it, and it works really well. It's got a nice intimacy to it, a nice charm to it, while also giving it the Kansas treatment. Overall, if you are in any way a fan of this band, even if it's just via Carry On Wayward Son or Dust in the Wind, give this album a shot. Hear what this band has become here in 2016. You'll probably dig more of it than you might think. Kindred Dirt, which is the first track off of Trap Them's new album, Crown Feral, is a sprawling crawl for 2 minutes, really setting up some of the fury, the speed, and the absolute aural atrocity that was going to follow it. It's one that is met immediately with Hellionaires, and that's where the speed starts to really introduce itself. These guys are a grind band that has hardcore tendencies, and it's just a group that really uses a cacophony of noise and sound to their favor, and really, they do it very well. Trap Them has a little bit more of an establishment, aside from some of the other bands of this distinction that maybe we've spoken about. They may not be the one that's talked about as much these days. However, a couple years ago, that would be an exceptional lie. This is one in Crown Feral that really uses warp speed and uses a little bit of tense, real riffing in order to garner its way through its 31 minutes. And really, whenever you go through tracks 2 through 6, that's where that speed just flurries its way past you. It just is unrelenting during these moments, and if you do get the spare break of perhaps a little, instrumental number, either that or maybe a small 10-second guitar solo or at least a fill, that's really the only break that you get during these moments, until you get into Twitching and the Auras, where we revisit some of those ideas from Kindred Dirt, that slow, that drawl, that more sludgy, more just violent sounding, tactful and cerebral, notion that really gives this song a true, button of highlight as opposed to what you had just experienced for the 5 tracks before it. And you get that similar vein with the final cutoff of this album entitled Phantom Air, which is the only song that breaks the 4-minute mark. Overall, this is a real violent number that definitely showcases its prowess well. It's the type of album that you would throw on and want to just run into things. It doesn't matter what they are. People, animals, inanimate objects, toasters, crates, whatever it may be. This is music that gets you moving and gets you in that spirit. And for that reason, I recommend it. Creatures Watching Over the Dead is the brand new album from Charred Walls of the Damned, which is a heavy metal supergroup that has Richard Christie, Steve DiGiorgio, Tim Ripper Owens, and Jason Sukoff. Jason, what's up, buddy? Man, good to see you. And good to see a brand new Charred Walls of the Damned album, considering these guys are a cool little mix that are able to give heavy metal and thrash metal a little bit of a combined makeover in a weird way. And in some places, it seems like Ripper's vocals kind of don't fit into this whole mix, but whenever you listen to it as a whole, you start to notice sort of the subtle genius behind it, especially whenever you consider some of the membership that also is around it, especially whenever you think about Steve DiGiorgio, because of his influence and the different bands that he played in, where it showcased that little bit of dissonance that sometimes is present between the vocals and the music itself, actually grants a little bit more of that freedom. And the freedom is showcased in the album itself, in some of the different styles that you hear. Some of you, what you get off of this disc is going to feel a little bit more like a traditional death metal riff that's then sort of transmorphed into a semi-thrash, just basic heavy metal riff. And really, whenever you listen to a track such as Living in the Shadow of Yesterday, the opening lick to this, thanks Jason, sounds almost like it belongs in some sort of like hair metal band song or like a Scorpions track. It's pretty cool. I like that variety. This is not an album that necessarily is going to, blow the roof off of lists and, do things like that. But a group such as Charred Walls of the Damned is just nice to toss on every once in a while and really just sort of marvel at the collective skills of those that are a member of this group. They do have and possess a lot of talent. They should. This is a super group for a reason. I really enjoy tracks such as The Soulless off of this disc. I love the way in which the overall songwriting just tends to make sense. My Eyes is really the very first cutoff of this album, is where Ripper's vocals at first just seem like they don't fit. But here's the thing, at least you can hear them, unlike on that Operation Mindcrime disaster. And also, you should check out Lies. Lies is another great track off of this. This really, the whole thing is, I think, a bit underrated and underappreciated. A lot of people are being a little critical of this, but I think this is more just for fun, and that's what it should be. Really solid disc. I enjoyed it. You might as well. So give it a scope. Crobot with Welcome to Fat City is our next observation. I was a huge advocate for Something Supernatural, which was their last album, and now there has been requests, there are a lot more fans. If you do not know of this band yet, definitely give them a try. Now, they're not a metal band per se. These guys have their roots a little bit more with hard rock, with a little bit of psychedelic rock. There's a little bit of that fuzz, that stoner rock that maybe would caused them to cross over a little bit, but really, musically speaking, they remind me a little bit more of a more rock-oriented Clutch. You know, this is a group that has a lot of that same fuzz and that same power and that explorative spirit behind them that definitely has given Clutch acclaim for years. And their songwriting is also very solid to really boot. Check out Not For Sale for an example of that. That was the single that was provided for us prior to this album being given. The John the Baptist to this album's Jesus Christ, if you will. Welcome to Fat City is a track, the very first song that opens things up with a little bit of high energy, but it's really the moments where this band's able to even descend into a little bit of blues country, to some blues territory with a track such as Moment of Truth, that you really see the expertise that this band really is already in possession of this early in their career. This is a nearly 5 minute long track that just swirls amid the blues, and vocally speaking, you sort of hear this sort of amalgamation, this witch's brew of Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes intermixing with Miles Kennedy of a band such as Alter Bridge, or whenever he was with Slash. This is a nice combination that gives this track a lot of power. It's the surprise of the week. And this album is just a real joy to listen to. You need to check this one out. They might become your favorite hard rock band. If they don't, then you're at least going to have them within your top 10 newer rock bands. So scope out Crobot's Welcome to Fat City. Sahg with Memento Mori is our final album of this week, and it's another surprise! I can't believe it! Oh. Okay, gotta talk about this a little bit. 8 tracks on this one. This is a Norwegian doom metal band. And by doom metal, I don't mean what you are typically associating with doom anymore. This one has a little bit of a root and foundation in the old school, as well as just sort of combining different efforts in order to craft atmosphere and try some different things. You definitely get that with this album. You get songs with cleaner vocals such as Black Unicorn to start this one off, and that really crawl and that typical doom fashion that you're really resembled of, or, you know, very used to. But then a track such as Devil Speed just furies through nearly 4 minutes, almost like these guys are trying to turn you on your tail like High on Fire would do, and they do it very, very well. Take It to Your Grave, it goes into Silence, The Machines very nicely, and it just continues to sort of expand upon the horizons. You start to feel yourself a little bit more distant from, you know, modern, you know, doom and gloom, and you just go into more of an expansive universe, almost like this band is opting to be very similar to High on Fire, and also have a bit of a stoner side to them, a bit of a sludge side to them, a bit of a just modern side to them, and even a bit of maybe a progressive side to them. There's a lot of different impacts that you get with this group. They are not one that remains very unilateral. They are instead a multifaceted, very, very well-oiled machine that has been going strong for 5 albums now, and this may be one of their better offerings in their discography. Travelers of Space and Light and Blood of Oceans are able to finish this cascade, but once again, I have to give a lot of praise to this album for its usage of space, its usage of time and tone in order to really dictate where things are going. If you can have a song go from a very soft register into a thunderous, booming introduction for your next track, man, you're doing something right whenever it comes to variety. This album is packed with it. Scope out Memento Mori by the band Sahg. And that will do it for us this week. These are albums that you need to scope out, so definitely go and do so. We have a ton of more releases coming this coming weekend, of course, with in between the Opeth and the Epica, the Suicidal Tendencies, the Alces, and everything else. Oh man, what are you excited most for this weekend? I'm excited for so much. It's insane! And there's still more that are coming that I had missed whenever I... Oh my god. Let me know your thoughts about these 6 in the comments below, and let me know what you're excited to hear in the next couple weeks. I'm coverkillernation, and I'll talk to you guys next week whenever we discuss 5 more albums that were just recently released that you need to check out. I'll talk to you later. Take care.